the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Your Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, Minister of Information, Communication and ICT, Honorable Napen Nnauye, Arusha Regional Commissioner, Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, Heads of Diplomatic Missions, officials of the African Union and East African Community, UNESCO Regional Director, government officials, MPs, permanent secretaries, civil society organizations, religious leaders, representatives of the media and media associations, chair of the organizers at this forum, invited guests, Mabibi na Mbwana, Habari za mchana, and Eid Mubarak. I'm privileged to be addressing you this morning at this important event, where we reflect on the fundamental principles of press freedom, evaluate its existence around the world, and remind each other about our joint responsibility to support and protect the media. Today, we also pay tribute to journalists who have been harmed and those who have lost their lives in the exercise of their profession. Wageni walikwa. World Press Freedom Day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 following a recommendation adopted by the UNESCO General Conference in 1991. This year's World Press Freedom Day theme is Journalism Under Digital Siege, and it reminds us about multiple ways in which journalism is endangered by surveillance and digitally facilitated attacks on journalists, and the resulting outcome of all of this to public trust in digital communications. World Press Freedom Commemoration allows journalists, civil society organizations, national authorities, the academia, the broader public to discuss the emerging challenges to press freedoms and the journalists, safety, and to work together on identifying solutions. We particularly need to support and protect women journalists, who often succumb to online and offline harassment and intimidation. The Secretary General of the United Nations message for this day reminds us of all the important and sometimes risky work that journalists do in collecting, processing, and disseminating information to the public. Mheshimiwa Rais, I will now deliver the United Nations Secretary General's remarks for this important day. And I quote, on the World Press Freedom Day, we shine a spotlight on the essential work of journalists and other media workers who seek transparency and accountability from those in power, often at great personal risk. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, many media workers have been on the front lines, providing accurate, science-based reporting to inform decision makers and save lives. At the same time, journalists who cover climate, biodiversity, and pollution have succeeded in bringing global attention to this triple planetary crisis we have. But the threats to the freedom of journalists and media workers are growing by the day, from global health to climate crisis, corruption, and human rights abuses. They face increased politicization of their work and attempts to silence them from many sides. Digital technology has democratized access to information, but it has also created serious challenges. The business model of many media social platforms are based not on increasing access to accurate reporting, but on increasing engagement, which often means provoking outrage and spreading lies. Media workers in war zones are threatened not only by bombs and bullets, but by the weapons of falsification and disinformation that accompany modern warfare. They may be attacked as enemy, accused of espionage, detained or killed simply for doing their jobs. Digital technology also makes censorship even easier. Many journalists and editors around the world are at constant risk of their programs and reports being taken offline. And digital technology creates new channels for oppression and abuse. Women journalists are particularly at risk of online harassment and violence. UNESCO found that nearly 3 in 4 women responders have experienced online violence. Hacking and illegal surveillance also prevents journalists from doing their jobs. The methods and tools change, but the goal of discrediting the media and covering up the truth remains the same as ever. The results are also the same: people and societies that are unable to distinguish fact from fiction and can be manipulated in horrifying ways. Without freedom of the press, there are no real democratic societies. Without freedom of the press, there is no freedom. The United Nations is working to support journalists and media workers everywhere. 10 years ago, we established a plan of action on the safety of journalists to protect media workers and the impunity for crimes committed against them. On World Press Freedom Day, we honor the essential work of the media in speaking truth to power, exposing lies, and building strong, resilient institutions and societies. We call on governments, media organizations, and technology companies everywhere to support these crucial efforts." End of quote. With these few remarks, I would like to end by thanking the government of the United Republic of Tanzania, UNESCO, and the partners for commemorating this important day. Thank you for listening. Asanteni sana.